Welcome, Capricorn, your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon from May the 18th through to June the 28th. Mars, the planet of drive and passion, moves through the Earth sign of Taurus. We can talk about that generally, but what does it mean for you personally? On screen, Capricorn is your event chart from a purely Capricornian viewpoint, the exact moment Mars arrives, and all the other planetary influences feeding into the next 6 weeks. But I'm also going to share with you two upcoming influences through the last 10 days of May, a potentially very challenging square between Mars and Pluto, but brilliantly through the last week of June, a fantastic link between Mars and Jupiter. At the end of the video, you'll have a clear understanding of what's upcoming in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. The sign of Taurus is very much about foundations, our self-worth, our values, our approach to everyday money. It's a fixed sign, so it can be a bit unyielding, but it's also ruled by the sensuous energy of Venus. But for you, it represents the fifth house. And the fifth house can be where we showcase fun, pleasure, joyfulness, romance, sociability. If you have kids, their activities can also create a lot of pleasure too. But if you recall, we just had a fabulous new moon in that area. So what Mars is doing is supercharging the energy that's already reverberating around the heavens and amplifying it even more. Because Mars in the fifth house for you has a little bit of a feel of Leo. It's about having more confidence. It's going to see you strut your stuff in a much more self-assured way through that 6 weeks, and you're going to feel more alluring too, because Mars is very much about desire through its rulership of Scorpio, and Venus, being the ruler of the sign of Taurus, is very much about that intimacy, and the combination really could see some very exciting developments. So what about the other planetary influences feeding into this event? Well, we do have a lot of energy in the sign of Gemini, and that's suggesting for you personally that over the years to come, there's going to be quite a lot of change around your work. But it can also be to do with how you think about fitness, how you think about how you use your time, and Uranus being in the mix could mean that things could be a little restless. But Mercury, the planet which is very much to do with communication and also precision, is in a brilliant link to Uranus. So that's going to give you the opportunity over the next 6 weeks to actually see some existing strands in a fresh but enlightened way. But we also have the Moon and Venus in a beautiful conjunction. So as you go into this event, Venus linking back to Mars is almost perfectly perfecting a sextile, one of astrology's best influences. Venus moves forwards on Tuesday, the 19th, and that angle back to the position of Mars is perfect. That 60-degree angle suggests Mars in the fifth house is encouraging you to use his drive and confidence, and Venus's allure on the seventh house, which really illustrates her rulership of Libra. It's very much about being very good at harmonizing with others. So I think if you are single but you'd like to meet someone, I genuinely think the next 6 weeks could be seminal, particularly through the first 10 days of June. Why? Because Venus by then will be coming into an exact conjunction with Jupiter, the planet of fortune. And you could have a stroke of fortune about who you meet. But what about in terms of that square between Mars and Pluto towards the end of May? Well, one of the things that I think comes up for me there is Pluto is going to see your approach to resources, a very Taurus theme, evolving over the next or the years to come through to 244. So the square suggests if you do encounter someone you really like, one of the things I wouldn't do is try too hard. nor would I make any grand gestures in terms of generous gifts. The second, fifth house can be about speculation. So just be conscious of that. But I think it's going to play out more in an existing relationship. If your values, the second house, and also Taurus, don't align with an existing partner, a power battle can follow. And part of it may be that you actually do want to live in the moment more and show a bit more devil may do, not be quite so cautious in your approach, which is a big part of your nature. You do have your ruler Saturn in that fourth house, and it's going to be there for the next 2 years. That's very much to do with a safety first approach. But if you do find yourself sort of igniting with a sense of excitement and someone really wants to quell that down, that could be quite a sticking point through the last phase of the month. But equally, if you are thinking about using your resources in a different way, I wouldn't be pursuing a get rich quick scheme too rapidly without really looking at the details. Now, the sun's moving into Gemini on the 21st of May and comes into an exact conjunction with Uranus for the first time in 78 years on the 22nd. And that could give you a brainwave. It may help you to see the value in a situation because of your attention to detail that other people may miss. But I still wouldn't be too gung-ho in your approach. The fifth house can be very, very fast moving and exciting, but that's where the beauty of Mars being in Taurus comes in, because Taurus energy can slow Mars down, make it a little more mindful of the risk as well as the reward. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Capricorn. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. Now 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. Helps us to understand the patterns that play out in our lives, get a more intimate understanding of them, and how we can use those energies better future forwards. 3, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. If you don't have in your natal chart the North Node late in Pisces or early in Aries, it can change from your natal chart. Your draconic chart can be very different indeed. It helps us to look at ourselves in a different way. It's very, very profound. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May monthly forecast, that's on the screen. Yet to watch that Uranus 78-year solar return Cazimi on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, pleasure, please see my testimonials below. If you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope, find your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop, for your ascendant, sun, moon, whichever you want, please see that too. So to summarize, when it comes to a romantic situation, if you're single and you'd like to meet someone, listen, I'm not God, but the planets, the astrology, are very, very strong for you right through to the end of June. Because when Jupiter, the planet of fortune, first moved into your sector of relating last year, it was conflicted by Saturn, which is why it hadn't or hasn't brought the rewards that some Capricorns thought would come by what other people were saying. But it was evident from the start. If we look at the event chart, and we didn't just look at Jupiter alone in your 7th solar house, it wasn't all going to be plain sailing. But from now through to the end of June, if you're single, your opportunities really increase. What about if you're in an existing relationship? Well, I think there could be a bit of a conflict between what each of you wants to spend money on. And if you're someone who's a bit more indulgent over life's luxuries, very Taurus, and you want to go for it without any constraint, that could be a clash point. When it comes to your professional situation, the 6th house is lit up through this period. The 6th house is about your work. But I think working where you can collaborate with people will work best for you, but also where you can provide a service that gives you a sense of satisfaction. Your energy, I think, continues to be impacted by Saturn in the 4th house. It is asking you to become much more mindful of your deeper motivations. But the sun moving into your 6th house on the 21st of May, just urges you to look at different, fresh ways of how you can improve your energy. And when it comes to that neat finance, as I've said, I would be a little bit cautious about get rich schemes, but Pluto's still evolving. And if you look at Mercury, there's a tremendous trine between them. So if you are able to scrutinize the details, Mercury Pluto in a trine is fantastic for arrowing in right down, penetrating. You could see value where other people don't. It's been a pleasure being with you, Capricorn. All the best and look forwards to seeing you again soon.